No, sir.
She's coming, but she's got to go.
And they're redoing the way the substitute teachers.
Call this meeting of Macon County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. This is a continuation meeting from our meeting of the 13th. We had about a 9-hour meeting, and we divided it into 2 parts. So we now have 4.5 hours left. With that, guys, Mr. L, we expect you to stay to the very end. Is that all right?
I noticed the tears towards the bottom of the agenda there.
Tears in the headlights.
We did that just for you.
Anyway,
we knew you didn't mind.
I'm gonna state the obvious. We have special recognition for Commissioner Cuppers, and we're going to do that right now. But his wife is picking him up some pain medication.
We're all
we're going to
I
share.
don't know what's all going to be in it. It could be fun.
Hydrocodone.
We're going to share. This board will be shining.
I know the second half of this meeting's going to be
Next 4 years, we make y'all in there.
So we're going to wait for Bobby's medicine to get here and his wife to get here. So when she comes in, we're going to do that. That's fair to everybody?
She's not here by 7.
Okay, got it. So what we'll do, since we've got a 4.5-hour agenda, we're going to start on it. Is that all right with everybody? And we'll get right in it. Gentlemen, you've seen the agenda. It does not include the pleasantries that we usually start out with, the pledge and the prayer and all those kind of things, because this is a continuation of the meeting from last week. What it does include is adjustments to and approval of the agenda as you see it. So if you would, please review the agenda as I know you have. It is 70 pages long. For those of you who do not realize, that's not a joke.
Not the agenda, the backup documents are 70 pages. Please, Mr. Chairman.
My wife credited it for me. She said,
Long time.
my God, it's 70 pages long. And I said, yes, ma'am, it is. So if you've been through that, we need to approve the agenda.
Or have a short announcement sometime in there, 32 seconds.
I think the manager has one more agenda to add.
Yeah, a couple of adjustments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go right ahead.
One of them is under item number 12, resolution of dues for the 4-H credit advisors.
Yeah.
We need to strike that. We still have some more paperwork that needs to be worked out with the economic development director and the company before y'all. We're asking y'all to postpone that until a later meeting if that's possible.
That's fine.
And the other thing is that over this past year, we've had a problem down at the park, and what's the name of the park down there?
Palisade Park.
Palisade Park. And I was called down there a time or two, and Mike Freedlove and Soil Conservation people have been down there, and we've got a real problem with erosion. As the river comes through there, especially when it's starting to eat away at that, it's caused some.
We've lost over about 12 feet.
Yeah, and it continues to eat away on that, and it's been a real concern. And we do have grant money for that, but it's going to require us to put a little money up front. So we're probably going to need about $2,000. We already have a line that we can take that from, and there's a good chance that Mike Freedlove can get grant money, get us reimbursed for that. But in order to go ahead and get that project done, we're going to ask y'all to consider that tonight, if you would, and add that to your agenda.
Okay.
So we can take care of that.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we'll add that as
One other thing.
right after you want to put that right after the resolution, at least with Evergreen, the bid to the point home.
Yeah, that would be fine. And I would ask then, the other issue that we have for Mr. Jenkins, instead of having to stay here for 4.5 hours, he has promised him I would ask the board to consider. The only other thing we have is a resolution for a lease with Evergreen, one of our other tenants out there in the incubator.
Okay.
And if it's possible, if you could move that up toward the beginning of the meeting, I'm sure Ms. Jenkins would really appreciate that. It's just an extension.
Not that I don't enjoy your answer.
Good answer, Tom.
What are you trying to say?
And if you could move that up toward the front of the agenda, I'm sure they would appreciate that. It's just basically an extension of a current lease we have for a tenant in the Business Development Center.
The chair would recommend we move that to item number 4 after Karen Wallace is here. We'll not move it in front of you, Karen. We'll make him wait till after you. Is that fair?
Save me from having to get in. I had to defend my life.
We have one other item that's not on the agenda that I'd like to ask the board's consideration. Is, as you know, back some time ago, Finance Director and work with refinancing and saving some money on interest on another debt that we had. And you asked her to go back, asked for us to go back and take a look and see if we could do some more refinancing since the interest rates are down so low. And so we have a guest here tonight. I'll let Lori introduce him, but if we could consider that about the same time you're talking about a QZAP application, because it ties into that as well. I'll do a short presentation, and I think the attorney may have some information on that as well.
I was just gonna say, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
paragraph 10, Macon Tracts Agreement with Macon County Board of Education. That can come off the agenda. We're waiting for one piece of paper from the Macon Tracts folks. It's supposed to be this afternoon, and they're not hard pressed on it.
What do you tell them what you add? So for Chester, we'll remove item number 10.
I think it can come back on in December. They have no problem with it at all.
Lori, what, the name of your guest, would you have?
Tonight, he's with First Triton Advisors. I worked with Chris, previously worked with BD&T Governmental Finance, so I have worked with Chris in the past. So he's here tonight to kind of walk you guys through the process of trying to get us a better interest rate on this debt on the 5-6 school in East Franklin School.
And we did ask for that, and we're very interested in that. The chair would recommend we place that as item 6A on the agenda. Mr. Manager, we'll put that right under the up there at Highland School. Is that okay with you?
Great.
Okay, that'll be item 6A, Chris Alexander with First Tryon. Is that right?
First Triton Advisors.
Chris, welcome. We'll get you on soon. Anything else to be added to the
The other
agenda?
thing was too, that I mentioned you,
Yes, sir.
I said he wanted to come up here and say something to us about some activities and scenes in the park.
Okay. And your name was
Mildred Hamilton.
Mildred. That would be fine. Let's make Tommy, we put Tommy right after Karen Wallace, so let's make him 3A, and let's make 3B. We'll make that an activity. Okay, that'd be pretty close. Mr. Chairman, yes, ma'am. Sir. Sorry.
Ms. Wallace was hoping that once she got done with the library material, she could speak to the office just a few minutes about community funding for the library.
Yes, that's fine. She wears both those hats. I was aware of that, so that will be fine. We'll just do that as part of your number 3. Let's include, just keep talking.
You just got, you just
Keep
make her
going.
stay on that one.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I've got an addition on a request from South Macon PTA. I'd like to add it.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's going to be a,
Is there anybody to speak to that, or that's just you?
I'll handle it, yeah.
You'll do that?
I've got information here.
Do you need that close to the front for any reason?
No.
Let's make that item number 15. After Jack's Coal Stage Fields, we'll make that item number 15, Jim Tate, and we'll call it South Macon. Okay? Okay? I've got, as far as changes, 1, 2, 3, won't repeat them all. Remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additions and 2 removals. We took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You can just go ahead and do that. Okay. With those 5 additions and 2 deletions, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The agenda stands as presented. Do we have any announcements? Commissioner Pepper.
It's not every day you get to brag about your community on the last day of office, which is kind of fun. Just want to make sure everybody understands that Couty Community Development Organization received the top honor recently as a community of distinction at the Western North Carolina Community Annual Awards Ceremony at Grove Park Gym. This is for a lot of reasons. This is for Friends of the Rickman Store. This is for the efforts that have gone into the West Mills, the efforts that's gone into West Mills, and more than anything, it's their effort on the Couty School. And I would like to say that I just was talking to Stacy today on the way to get my arm fixed. I was not even aware of this, and I've gone to as many of those meetings as most of the people in that club have gone to. over 200 citizens in Couty community have either directly worked with in-kind donations or have donated money or have done work in fundraisers to raise money for that school's refurbishment. I can't point to another community, and I've been to most of them in 4 years, I can't point to another community with that kind of dedication, that kind of effort. And as I leave, I just want everybody on this board and everybody sitting out there and the record to reflect that I just think to turn your back on that kind of community effort would be a tragic mistake. They got $2,000 for winning the award. That puts them over $10,000 that they have raised for the purposes of moving that school along. Now, that's not a great amount of money, but you show me another community development organization that has raised that kind of money for a project. I just don't think you're going to find it. And so, as I depart, as their voice from Couty, I just want to make sure you understand, as I understand, the efforts and the seriousness with which they take the refurbishment and not restructure, but the use of that school in the future. And I'd like for you to bear that in mind as you move on down the pipe. You don't owe me a thing, but you do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Pepper. We appreciate that and agree with you. Any other announcements? If not, Karen Wallace.
I appreciate you including the community funding pool on the agenda as well, and I'll keep this really brief because you're going to be here all night.
I was exaggerating about the 4.5 hours.
Well, I hope so, and I hope to keep your night shorter because of that. So I'd like to start out with the Fontana Regional Library Agreement, and I think that you all have that in your packets. Fontana Regional Library has been providing library service for Macon, Jackson, and Swain counties for over 60 years. The state formed regional library systems in order to help equalize library service, particularly in rural counties. Macon, Jackson, and Swain counties signed an agreement with Fontana Regional Library back in 1954, and the original agreement has never been revised. And that's a long time for an agreement to stand with no changes. Last year, the state legislature passed revisions to the North Carolina Administrative Code that governs regional libraries, and because of that, we have to make some changes to the regional agreement for library service to Macon, Jackson, and Swain counties, and that's the agreement draft that's before you now. We've been working on this agreement for about 1.5 years, and primarily there are 6 changes that were necessitated by the administrative code being changed, and these have to do with the powers and duties of the board, the regional board of trustees, and delegating power to the director. There are some changes in designating a finance officer that has to report directly to the regional board of trustees. That's actually wasn't a change in the way we operate, but it is a change in the agreement language. There's also was nothing in our previous agreement that addressed the necessity to comply with state and federal laws, and that now is in the agreement that is before you now. The 4th change that's necessitated by the administrative code change has to do with empowering the regional board of trustees to provide the state library with an audit. Again, just wasn't designated in the previous agreement. The last couple of changes have to do with what would happen if the regional library system was to go away. If someone was to withdraw from the region, one of the counties was to withdraw from the region, what would need to happen? And it stipulates the time period for which one of the counties would have to express their interest in withdrawing from the regional library system. Is there's a full year that has to go by while plans are made to change the way library service is provided in Macon, Jackson, or Swain counties. So there is more specifics about what would happen if someone was to withdraw from the region, one of the counties was to withdraw. And the last change required by the administrative code change is provisions for termination. So if in fact the regional library system was to dissolve and this agreement is to be terminated, there's some language there now that specifies what happens to the regional agreement and the dissolution of the library. So those are the changes that were required by law. We did take the opportunity of revising the agreement to formalize a few more things than were so in 1954. A lot of things have changed, but primarily we just trying to provide clarity for things like terms of ownership, and again, what would happen if the region was to dissolve or one county was to withdraw. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
And it says, is it finalized now on our agenda? It says first draft. Is that?
Yeah, that draft has been reviewed by the Regional Board of Trustees and has been reviewed by the State Library. It's been reviewed by the regional boards from McGuire, Wood, and Bissett. And we're now bringing it before each of the county commissioner boards to ask your action on executing the agreement, we hope before the end of this calendar year. That's our request.
And I would point out to board members, you can certainly read it, but this has to be approved by the Jackson Board of Commissioners, Macon Board of Commissioners, and Swain Board of Commissioners.
That's
before
correct.
it's executed and signed by the chairman of each of those boards.
That's correct.
So you don't anticipate no more changes?
Well, we don't anticipate more, but if one of the other counties or in reviewing when the county attorney reviews
That's
it.
the problem you get into.
Yeah.
The county manager and I had an opportunity to sit down in this while, so we talked about and gone over it. I've gone over it, I know Jack has. What we're basically saying here tonight is we accept this draft. If Jackson County comes along and says, well, we accept this draft, but we want to add this language, then this is going to have to come back to us. And that's why.
We only have to approve the same document.
Correct.
Right, that's correct.
Welcome to the U.S. House of Representatives. But the bottom line is we gotta keep going back until we all vote right, so possibly on the same piece of paper.
Jackson County took it before the board yesterday with the Jackson County Commissioners, and they're not seeing any issues with it. So we still have Swain to present to. One note that you'll see in the agreement is the provision for the possibility of the introduction of a separate facility lease. Jackson County did require us to have a separate lease for the facilities that we operate for them in Jackson County. We discussed that last week when I talked with Jack and Bobby, and we're certainly open to that, but we really feel like the regional agreement does what it needs to do for the facility. So.
There was a couple of provisions in here that I had a chance to talk to Karen about. One of them was insurance, and we talked about that the other day. Right now, the county carries insurance on the building for fire and so forth. The contents are covered, I think, by an insurance policy with the Fontana Regional Library.
That's correct,
System.
yes.
And I'm sure they have to pay a pretty big premium for that.
We do indeed.
I did want to mention that I did get a chance to talk to our representatives from the County Commission Association Risk Management Pool. And they informed me that we could cover that under the county policy, which would probably save you some money. I don't know if that's going to require a change in these bylaws or not, but I'll be talking to them in the next week or so to find out just how much money that is compared to what you're paying now. If you want to change it, I'm not sure, but since all three of them have to be the same, it may be a deal where we do it and you pay us back or something that will save you money in the long run, but that's a possibility. And I did get a chance to talk to the county manager over in Swain, who is not, they haven't had a chance to meet and approve this yet. I did talk to Mr. Wooten over Jackson County. The difference there is, just to keep in mind, is that we have a new library in Macon County, fairly new library in Macon County. They have a new library in Jackson County, and the good folks in Swain County want a new library too.
And we're working on that.
And so, the only concern that Mr. King had is that we wanted to make sure that there was language in that, and he'll be talking to you about it. It may require adding a word or two that if they're going to come up with the money like the county did here and buy property and build a library and pay for the debt service and so forth, they would like to see some language that gives them some latitude on where it is to be located and the final design perhaps of that, so he'll be talking to you about that. So there is a good chance, Mr. Cuppers, there may be some little tweaks on this thing before we get it finalized.
That's what I'm saying. You may see this at the end.
The agreement actually specifies that the counties are to provide the facilities, so we certainly would expect for them to select the site for the new library.
Outside of that, I don't see any problems over there from talking to Mr. King. That's the only
Glad to
thing
hear
that he has
that.
a problem with.
So, Mr. Cook, do you need a consensus or do you want a motion?
I think what we want to do is move and approve the existing document, and then if it gets changed, it'll come back to us and we'll have
We have
to,
to reapprove it again.
So the motion will be in order.
and I would like to make that motion.
I'll second We have a motion and a second to approve the final draft as presented by Ms. Wallace.
The first draft.
Well, she said it's final draft.
Well, it's the only draft we
draft.
presented
Draft
to
we
you.
have, the one you
Yes.
got.
Yeah.
The alpha and the omega, right? That means the beginning and the end.
You're so smart.
Any discussion on the motion?
I've just got a quick question. I'm just reading through the financial structure here. I'm having difficulty understanding it. Does this mean that each county, do they pay into one mass pool? And that's the library board splits it up, or does each county kind of support?
Each county supports the operations within their county. We do have some joint operations which are funded through state funds and a pooling of resources that are usually done by ratio of the size of the library or the community that it's serving. So,
Answer your question, Mr. Day. Any other discussion?
The only other thing that we did discuss, Mr. Cuppers and I and Karen, was it's a little bit different situation when it comes to the Highlands Library because it's actually owned by the Hudson Library Board and it's leased to the county, so that's a little bit of a different twist than what we have in those counties. But that's covered in the.
it is, and that probably took us longer than any other aspect of the agreement was to ensure that we were addressing the ownership and subsequent coverage and things that had to relate to the Hudson Library. So, and their board has reviewed and approves this agreement in concept.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is the community funding pool. I serve on the task force for the county's community funding pool. We did receive 11 grant applications for the funds that we had available. We are recommending funding for 8 of those 11 of the organizations that applied. And I believe you have this, you don't have this in your packet. Okay. I'd be happy to provide those organizations and amounts to you. The Arts
You have
Council.
a copy of,
Yeah, we do not have that.
mine is yours.
Okay. Great.
Did you make some for us as well?
Of those 8 organizations that we're recommending funding for are Kids Place and Reach of Macon County. Each of those we're recommending funding for $10,000. Arts Council of Macon County, we're recommending funding at $3,540. The Community Care Clinic of Highlands Cashers, we're recommending funding of $5,904. The Macon County Habitat for Humanity, recommending $1,778. Macon Program for Progress for the Parents as Teachers program, $6,870. Mountain Mediation Services for services provided in Macon County of $4,023. And the Highlands Community Child Development Center recommending $7,882. That's a total of $50,000 that had available to us to allocate to the organizations that applied. And our group, the task force meets, reviews the applications, and has a formula that we use to make those recommendations in allocations.
Without making this sound like a blank check, using the structure that you used, roughly how much would say your top 4 that didn't make it in if the money was available, how much would those cost? Not, we can't do it this year. I'm just asking because I'm going to make a point in a second.
The total funding that was requested
That'll work.
was $86,200.
Okay, which is about 36,000 more than what we made available. Okay, the only reason I bring that up is the chairman
Do you
knows.
have a list of those counties who did not make?
I, not on this list, but I do have
I'm
those.
just surprised that the free clinic in Franklin was.
Um,
Did they apply?
The community care clinic? Yes, that is the community care clinic that offers
that's the
services
free-
in Franklin.
Oh, okay, so that's the
Yes,
free clinic.
so they serve both in Highlands Cashers and Franklin.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that is
It's
the free
just-
clinic. in
Yeah,
Franklin.
it's their official name, but they do provide services in Franklin as well.
My
Well,
point
they're
is,
busting at the seams, is that right?
Yeah.
we talked about last year when we did this, and I just want to bring it up again just to get it in your minds. We can't do it this year. We talked about it last year at budget time. We weren't able to do it or did not do it. The possibility of eliminating the cats and dogs, as I like to call them, that trickle in through the year by perhaps expanding the funding to the community funding pool to a degree. And I just wanted to see what that might be for what was actually. It's about $36,000. Don't know if that's more or less than what you'd be considering. But I would like, as a parting shot, leaving the community funding pool as one of the things I was on, to reconsider when you get to budget time, expanding that and then just cutting off the cats and dogs. That's what we originally set this thing up for. Obviously, emergencies are emergencies and you deal with those as they come. But I would just, this is the same amount of money, I think, that was given the very first time this was ever done.
That's correct.
And it has never been expanded, and yet the needs in the county clearly have. And so I just throw that out there. We can't do anything this time, but I was just interested to see what that number would be, so I'll give you something.
Point well taken. Okay. Gentlemen, you see the figures in front of you totaling $50,000. Any discussion for clarification or a motion to approve it being ordered?
On behalf of the community funding pool, I'd like to make a motion that we approve it as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to present as, to approve it as presented, totaling $50,000 from the community funding pool.
Which is our budget.
It is, and just so everybody knows it's here.
We're just agreeing with their numbers. is what
We allocated this in our budget. This is not new money. This is part of our existing budget that we're under right now. This is just putting dollar figures to those specific line items as recommended by the community funding pool board.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add that Mr. Wallace and the people that's a part of this community fund group take this very serious.
They do a tremendous job.
They do a tremendous job. And the people that apply know that they're on this committee. And if you don't think they don't get politics a little bit.
We
So we
provide
appreciate
guidance.
what they do. And they have their own, they created their own formula. It has worked well. And this is one of those things that Karen, people ain't nothing on this committee. I do, and we appreciate it very much.
We thank you.
This is tough.
We appreciate that.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Thank you, Karen.
And we thank you very much. Appreciate it.
She's okay.
We'll get ready.
Well,
Thank you for.
Mr. Jenkins, how long do you need?
About 2 minutes, sir.
I think we should wait.
We recognize Mr. Jenkins.
Get your night, bud, whatever you want.
You make that call.
I defer to you.
I swear I did.
I do.
Thank you,
At
Mr.
least you got the good
Chairman.
stuff there.
Commissioners. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir.
Short item of business today from Economic Development Commission. We've got a lease renewal for the Business Development Center for the appointed home. The appointed home makes luxury therapeutic wraps. They've reinvented themselves from the owner, Deborah Green, was in the interior design business for years. And as we know in housing instrument, she had to reinvent herself. So she fits the model of what we're doing at the Business Development Center. They are successful. A little bit about our vetting process, what we're doing to EDC now. When they come up for renewals, we have an annual survey that they fill out. We have a BDC subcommittee who recommends or does not recommend approval of the lease, and we bring it to you, and it's been recommended for approval. This is for a year starting November 1 year, at an annual rate of $192. And the EDC recommends that the commissioners approve.
Bobby, if you can answer, Tom, and me and Bobby talked about this, and if you can't answer, that's fine, but they seem to be doing okay.
They are one of I consider one of our success stories. They've done what they need to do. They've gone through business plan training. They've looked at alternate sources of financing. They've actually made some accounts with some of the larger spas, Greenbrier Spa in West Virginia being one of them. And they're busting it every day to make it. Really good folks. Really good folks. If I had a building full of them, I'd be proud.
Still, what I've provided Mr. Jenkins resolution as well as the lease. And you, if you need to use it.
And you're in agreement with that, Mr. Chairman? Okay. The motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve that one-year lease to Deborah Green, DBA, the appointed home, as presented by the EDC Director and reviewed by the county. The resolution for that, and the resolution of the company that this one.
I'll second. We have a second by Commissioner Tate. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Thank you.
Thank you.
2.5 minutes.
That's right.
I
will stick around.
One other item, we do have the young lady that wanted to speak to the nativity, Ms. Hamilton. Ms. Hamilton, how much time do you anticipate you need?
Just about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Come on, you're on. That's a good answer, isn't it?
2 minutes.
Chris, how much time do you need? 2 minutes.
More than 2 minutes you can get. Not you, them, not them. I'm talking to Chris, not you. You take all the time you want.
I thank y'all for your time. The Christmas in the Park, I have organized it, and we've got several people that's trying to put it back together. I heard so many people say that Christ is being took out of this and that, and raised in a Christian environment. I want it back in the park. So many elderly people are missing it, and myself and some of the churches and some Christian people are helping me. But we're getting all that together, but the problem is I can't find a place to store all this stuff, and I've got 21 businesses already and other people that have given, their part, and I'm looking for someone or a place to store all this stuff, to keep it coming back every year, to keep, it coming back.
Okay.
I just don't want to see it die.
So you're asking us for?
I'm looking for some way that I can, maybe somebody's got a storage facility, or would you be willing to help pay for a storage facility to store this stuff so that we can bring it back every year? Or
One of our commissioners owns storage units.
We've been down that road.
I've already been down that road, he's full. But, that's all I'm asking for. I just want
Space with ranch, I don't know.
Maybe take a look and see.
If it's safe, you got to, I think the co-op people be very cooperative out there. That one building's good, a good place. But, and there's probably stuff, right?
I have not seen it all yet. They're supposed to have it all there by December the 1st, because we're hoping to have the park going the whole month of December. And it's going to be big. Yeah, it is going to be big.
But you need a place that's secure.
Well, I hope that's secure that place
I
is.
don't think that'd be too secure if the building's on there.
It's that first block building, right?
What, gentlemen,
That's mine. That'd be very fine.
Yeah, not the old prison.
Yeah. In the metal.
it'd be okay with the board, Jack, it'd be okay if we refer that to you, let you, come back with it. Chester, that's something we need to take action on, or Jack can have that
I
administrative?
think you can encourage Jack to handle it administratively if there's going to be a financial outlay if it needs to go back.
Jack, we encourage you to handle that administratively. Thank you, ma'am.
We left half the part about it.
You know what that means? We just passed the buck.
Jack,
Now you know who you call.
look forward to seeing all of everyone in the park.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, other items, I'll take more than 2 minutes. Just wanted to share a couple of words with you. To everything there's a season, a time to every purpose under heaven. Time to be born, time to die, time to plant, time to pluck up that which is planted. Time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up. A time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, time to gather stones. A time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow, a time to silence and a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. What that means, to me, my takeaway is that organizations and individuals deal with change every day. Inevitability of life, and the inevitability we're dealing with tonight is, as a group, this is Bobby Cooper's last meeting. As an individual, you'll be dealing with the change of having been on the board for the last 4 years, and from tonight on, you will not be on the board. So we're dealing with that change. We're recognizing that change tonight, and we're recognizing his efforts to this board, his efforts to this community, and express whatever appreciation we'd like to. I'd just like to open it up to the commissioner. We've got a couple more things to give you, Coach. It's fairly insignificant.
Other than hard times.
Yeah, it's not worth a lot of money, but it's got sentimental value. But before we present that, if any commissioner has anything, or Mr. Manager, anybody like to say something, this is the time to do it, and then we'll drive on. So you look like you want to say something.
Yep, I'll make this real quick, and I'm going to make it short because I want it to drive home. I just wanted to thank you for teaching me and the rest of us to, quote, always have the conversation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor.
Commissioner Tate took those words right out of my mouth. And truly, it is so important for the business of this county to be done, and for the members of this board to not be critical of having a conversation. And I think Commissioner Cupper's reminded this board of that on a regular basis, and challenged them.
Well said, Chester. Anybody?
I'd just like to say, I've only been here a year, but I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you, Bobby, and I'll miss you. And still love you.
I ain't got nothing to say about it. My comments, I'll get my comments.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Manager?
I'd just like to say that I've been around this business for a long time. 35 years perhaps, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I've worked with a lot of elected officials in a lot of different jurisdictions. And what a lot of people don't understand from the public is that most of the time, members on boards and commissions are in there trying to do what they think is best for their community. Every once in a while, somebody will do something that gets attention that's really goes against the grain of what most elected boards do in North Carolina. I've been here for almost 5 years. 4 of those years, Mr. Covers has been on the board, and the last couple of years, I think, as vice chairman. You have a chance as a staff person to observe people in their roles, and you understand from a different perspective what it takes to make the county work the way it should. This board has worked well together. And the reason I think it's worked well together is that this board has done the right things for the right reasons. And I think Mr. Covers is the epitome of that. And he has done a terrific job as county commissioner. He will be missed greatly. He won't be bashful about telling you what he thinks needs to be done. And he's always willing to listen to different points of view, and sometimes you can change his mind. If you've got enough facts and figures to go with it.
You say that a little louder, my wife.
But it has been really a real pleasure to work with Bobby Cuppers over the last 4 years, and we're going to miss you a lot, Mr. Cuppers, and I've really enjoyed the time that we've had to work together. Thank you.
Well said, Jack, thank you. Megan? Mike?
Mr. Cuppers, I appreciate the passion and the commitment that you brought to the job, and I think you have truly been an excellent fellow. Thank you.
One of the, when the chairman started off, he read a verse out of the Bible, and there's another verse that I like out of Psalms, verse 30, chapter 5, that I've looked at from time to time to help me through some difficult situations. And I just happen to have it on my little iPhone too. If the chairman will permit me, I like to read it because I think it speaks to a lot of the way we deal with changes and challenges and so forth. Psalms 30, verse 5, for his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is for life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And we wish nothing but the best for Bobby Cuppers here.
Amen.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll
Do
go.
I get my shot? I don't get my shot? I don't get to speak here tonight?
Yeah, you do. Go right. Go right. Well, actually,
Or would you like me to speak after you?
no, Bill and I are going last.
Okay,
So you-
that's done.
Go ahead.
I'd like to reserve my time to let them do it.
That's right. Whenever you
I
want.
don't like to speak after you.
Okay.
I don't trust me.
Okay,
You know how to-
then we'll go and then we'll let you complete.
That works.
All right.
That's
Mr. Commissioner Bill has served the longest with you, Bobby. So Mr. Bill, we'll ask you, we have a special presentation, we'll ask you to make that. No, I've got something else, I'll go ahead and do my thing. Bobby, I appreciate you. I'm gonna state the obvious, we have sat on the opposite sides of the political aisle. You're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, I don't know if you noticed that.
I figured that out.
At times we have agreed about things, at times we've disagreed. The thing I appreciate about Commissioner Cuppers is his willingness to work together and love for Macon County that's admirable, and that all of us could take note from and pattern our love of Macon County after that. And I think he's done an exceptional job as a commissioner, and we appreciate it, and I think the people of Macon County appreciate it very much. So with that said, Bobby, let's run. Yeah, let's go up here. All right. We got a little.
Do I need to get my other arm up here?
Ms. Cuppers, if you.
I need my other arm here.
Bring the pills up here if you need things.
No, that's after the break.
Bobby, on behalf of the Macon County Board of Commissioners, we're presenting you with a little gift.
I know you're presenting it, but you know I can possibly hold it up.
And so, Ms. Cuppers, if you would open
You're gonna
that.
have to open it.
This is something for your home.
Which I'll have a lot more time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I can't. Good man. This is why we're gonna wait on you. I know. That is nice. Thank you very much.
This is a Michael Rogers print, and the inscription at the bottom says Bobby Cuppers, December 2008 through December 2012.
Thank you very much. That's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Will you guys hold it up and
Oh,
look at the cameras?
oh, you meant the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, thanks.
You looked away again.
Of course I did, because I knew you were taking a picture.
I got it, thanks.
And you notice that goes along with my comments about the seasons?
Yes.
That's fall.
I did. Let me think about that one for just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo my remarks here.
Here's your bill.
Well, I'm gonna set it up, October.
All right, man. You can fill in a little bit.
Bobby Cuppers brings a lot of things to this commission board. I think I've served with 9 different commissioners since I've been elected. I believe that's about right.
I think that's right.
And Bobby Cuppers brings a level of integrity and intelligence to this board that is setting new standards. That's just a fact. And people don't know, I do, and some other folks on this board knows, Kevin Corbin knows, the nights that we worked on things by telephone that me and Bobby Cuppers has worked on that nobody else knows about, that you'd never know about if I stood here and told you. So he also brought a spirit of cooperation to this board. At times when we needed a spirit of cooperation, Bobby Cuppers could do that. He was always, he knew what was going on about any subject. If he wasn't supportive, he'd find out why he wasn't supportive of anything. He would always have the discussion. Chester and Jenny were so well put. So we're going to miss Bobby Cuppers. But you know what? I'll assure you, you're not seeing the last of Bobby Cuppers. You that. He will stay involved because he's dedicated, and it don't matter to Bobby Cuppers if it's a swimming pool in Nantahala that most people don't care nothing about. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
But you got them what, 60 votes?
Yeah.
So, but he's worked tirelessly for a swimming hole in Nantahala. Or where it be that our children no longer have to be in trailers for the last 30 years. Took us a few years, Bobby.
A few years to do it.
But you did that. Now his vision for the recreation of Macon County is on that path. That vision started right here. And that will be complete because of Bobby Cuppers. So, to my good friend Bobby Cuppers, it said, presented to Bobby Cuppers in appreciation for dedicated service to Macon County, which is so true. As a member of the Macon County Board of Commissioners, December 2008 to December 2012, proudly presented by the Macon County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the many citizens of this county, Bobby Cuppers. Thank you for all you've done, and we're going to plan on keeping you busy anyway. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, please come down. We'll have a picture made with Bobby with his plaque. You guys can join us, please. And Jack, if you want to come down, please.
Bring the whole gang down.
Come on, Chester.
Come on. Bring them down here. Let's go. They do the work. I just take all the credit.
The squashing and sort of stand sideways.
Submarine crew, get right here. I'll move the pin so nobody gets stuck.
I don't want to close you out, I don't want to.
No, that's okay.
There we
We got
go.
two more on this side and one on that side. Just balance
Hold
that.
that real careful.
Yeah, have
Oh,
safety.
thank you very much. There we go. Get over here. There we go. All right, the gang, here we go.
Feel like Jesus, sir, Bobby.
Don't take that picture.
Okay, hold just a second. Thank you.
We have a lot of Bobby's friends and supporters here, so I guess in section we're trying to...
We do.
Wait.
Oh, you
Everybody go back up here. I got a couple.
Let's all take our place.
Yeah, I gotta get up here where I can sit down, folks. This is gonna be hard. Also got my notes up here, so I don't have any notes, guys. I'm teasing. I think, on a night like this, you walk around when you're walking your dogs at midnight, 6 o'clock in the morning, you think of all the things you'd like to say, and you realize that you're sitting in the middle of a 3.5-hour meeting, and Pam hadn't been home all day, and she'd sure like to go home, and she can't go home till the reception's over. So I'll be short, but there's a lot of people to thank, because there's a lot of water under the bridge in 4 years. First of all, the people that need to be thanked more than any are the county employees of this county. The average citizen of Macon County does not know what they have. And the members that work for this county, they don't know. They don't know how hard they work. They have never said no to this board, no matter what we've asked them to do. Some idiot in his first year on the board, after they cut the budget to pieces, asked him to cut 1 more %. And you know what they did? They cut 2. Okay? That's what this is about.
Who is the idiot that asked for that?
That'd be me.
Okay.
Because that's what they taught me in the Navy. There's always 1% out there somewhere. So I want to thank those folks. And I just want to make a pitch, because sometime in the next year, somebody's going to come to you and ask you to make their pay right. I want to see people like you standing in this room saying, yes, we should, not no, we shouldn't, because they deserve it. And I don't care what anybody says. And I don't care if I lost by 10,000 votes. They deserve it. Second group I want to thank, because they're here at every meeting. And these poor people take a beat. And I never thought I'd say poor people when I was talking about the press. But my God, we beat these poor people to death. We schedule meetings, we recess meetings, we go till all hours of the night, and they usually sit right there with us. And then dang if they don't write the truth come the next day. It's unbelievable. Sometimes you wish they wouldn't, but they do. Y'all have never treated me badly in 4 years. You've always told the truth. Like I said a couple times, I wish you'd have gotten the quote a little bit wrong. But when I say it, I deserve to read about it. I thank you for your efforts. You keep us informed. And one of the people that gets very little credit when you say the press is sitting in the back of the room running that little camera. Bobby, you do a great service for the county. It's been a pleasure working around you. Thank you. Department heads. God, what do you say about the department heads of this county? What do you say? I mean, I've worked with some of the greatest people you will ever know. And I'm going to pick out 2 positions, and there's 4 people involved in those 2 positions, but I feel like they worked closer with me than just about anybody. The first is Wilma Anderson / Mike Decker. Who would have thought you could replace Wilma Anderson? I mean, there was a gloom that set over the courthouse when Wilma said she was going to retire. That just, I mean, it was palatable. You could feel it. And then in comes Mike Decker with a smile on his face, just getting it. And you don't forget Wilma, but you sure know you're in good hands with Mike Decker. And I really enjoyed working with those 2. The second 2 are the people that keep us out of jail. That would be Evelyn Southern and Lori Hall. I've been very fortunate. I knew nothing. I thought I knew a lot about budgets. I'd done a lot of military budgets. I thought I knew a lot. I didn't know anything. If it hadn't been for Evelyn Southern, I'd have gotten us in so much trouble you wouldn't believe. And Lori has picked up right where Evelyn left off, done a tremendous job. You're going to hear more about that tonight. Those of you that don't get tired of watching paint dry and are still with us in a couple hours, you're going to hear some of the good work that this lady has done. You are in great shape financially in Macon County, and it's not because the 5 people sitting up here. All we do is raise our hands when these guys come to us with an idea that's too good to turn down. They don't get the credit they deserve. They are tremendous, and so I want to thank them. Before I get to my fellow board members, I got to talk about Jack Horton. You see, I can't compare Jack Horton to anybody because he's the only county manager I've ever worked for. And I think that's a good thing, because I'm not sure there's anybody that compares to him. He is the best I know. I've worked for a lot of people. He knows where the line is. I always said about this board before I ran that one of the problems I saw in boards before Jack Horton got here is that the tail wagged the dog. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, I mean the manager's office drove the board instead of the board driving the manager's office. That man right there understands how it's supposed to work. He understands how to get things done. He understands how to implement what we ask him to implement. It doesn't get any better than that, and you better not let him retire because you won't find a better one anywhere. I'm just telling you, you won't. Board members, Lord mercy, I've had a bunch of them. I've worked with some great public servants. Bobby Simpson, Jim Davis, Brian McClellan, I wish they were here. Great folks. The guys that are up here now, Mr. Haven, we've been down some roads. It's been a trip. Hasn't always been a smooth trip, but it's been a trip, and we moved on down those roads. This guy over here to my left, there's only one word for this guy. If I lose it, don't blame me. It's all right. This is solid right here. This is solid as a rock. Never met a person who was so competent in finding out the facts he needed to find out, making a decision, and sticking with it. This guy right here. Solid. You remember that in 2 years when it's time to vote. Solid. Okay? Not supposed to campaign, but I don't care because what you're going to do, fire me. The guy to my right, I'm proud to say, has been more than just a chairman. He's been a friend. We talked one night till I swear my battery died. I went and charged it up, and son of a gun, he was on the phone again. We killed that sucker again. But by the time we got off the phone, we understood what each other wanted. We knew, and we knew we could make it happen. Some of y'all sitting out there that don't get to see the backdoor world of county commission politics don't understand some of the deals that have been cut. If we told you how those deals came to be, you'd never believe it. But I'm proud of them. They weren't underhanded. They were done in the best interest of this county. They were done legally. They were done straightforward. And they were done because you have a chairman that is not afraid to listen to people even though he doesn't have to. Ladies and gentlemen, my first course as county commissioner, they asked me if I could count to 3. And I said, how many votes you need? I said, okay, that works. For the first 2 years on this board, I had those 3 votes. We thought we did some of the time. In the last 3 years, not necessarily. Not necessarily. But I can tell you that I knew that if I had it right, that I could convince him, that he would listen to me. Even though he can do math just like me, he didn't have to listen to me. He didn't have to listen to Ronnie. He doesn't have to listen to us, but he does anyway. Don't let him get away either. He's a dandy, okay? My foxhole buddy down here, what do you say? You go back, you do this. You go back the last 8 years, 6 years, and you look at the good things that have happened in Macon County. If you dust those suckers for fingerprints, you'll find his all over them. I could list them for you. I could list the schools. I could list the dialysis unit. I could just keep on going. Heart bigger than he is. And a brain to match. It's been a big honor. He taught me an awful lot. And of all the people, I'll miss me. I'll miss you the most. And I'm sorry that I'm getting a little emotional, but I will. Last thing I'll say is this is a great county and this is a great board. Don't ever stop having the conversation, because when you do, you become a victim of partisan politics. When you become a victim of partisan politics, to the citizens of Macon County, you're worthless. If the only reason you're doing something, sitting behind this counter, this board back here, is because your party wants you to do it, that's a shame, and you ought to be fired. You need to do it because the people of Macon County need it done. And we have always done that behind this board in the 4 years I've been here. I trust that that will continue. Pam, I know you're wanting to go home. I'm done. I thank you for the opportunity to be here. It has been a great run. You won't see me necessarily out in the community, but if my wife doesn't divorce me, you may get to see me on Friday nights again. So I don't know. We'll see. That has yet to be determined in the Cupper's household, and I really can't afford a lawyer, Chester, unless you do divorces. So I may not go down that path. But it's been an honor to serve. It has been an honor to be a part of this group up here. They will do the job if you'll tell them what you want. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for the gift. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's go easy.
We have a reception in honor of Commissioner Cuthbert outside. Thank you, Pam, for all the work put that together.
We promise to get you home.
We'll recess for 15 minutes, whatever.
We'll call 15.
And let's enjoy the fellowship and the food. So we'll stand and recess. Good job. Hang with it, Brother Haven. Hang with it.